Welcome back to H&S Woodworking. I'm Nick. Joining me today is my youngest son Blake. He's 1/3 of the and sons. My oldest son Troy, the other third, is the one behind the camera helping us out today. So today's project, we're going to be making a outfeed table / workbench for my table saw. This is going to be a big project. It's most likely going to end up being a 2-part episode. So, we've got a lot of work to do. I've already taken the liberty, I've got my legs glued up. This is going to be an all 2x4 construction. The legs are just 2x4s that I've laminated together. We're going to mill them down to 3x3 square, cut them, get them set, and that's probably going to be today's episode, is getting the frame of the outfeed table constructed. The top layer, the top part of the table is going to be made out of white melamine, the same as my cabinets. It's going to have 2 shelves on it, a middle and a bottom, both going to be made out of plywood. The very bottom one's going to be outdoor sheeting. It's just some stuff that I've had here, some 3/4 inch lap sheeting. So, it's going to be a big one. Stick with us. Welcome and enjoy. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get this big old honking piece of wood cut down to something manageable. Hence why I've got Blake here with me today. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get rid of some of this ugly stuff on here. There's a piece down at the end that needs to be cut off. We're going to cut them to length, which is 33 1/16 for each leg, which should give me the accountability that I need for the 3/4 inch rabbet that's going to be around the top, and my 3-inch swivel casters that's going to be on the bottom to give me an overall height of just shy of 37 inches. I want it to be just barely below my tabletop here. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do, Blake, do you want to grab that end over there? We need to bring it over here to the miter station. Grab it. And we need to trim off some of this ugly stuff here. Let's turn it around. There you go. So first thing I need to do before we get started is I got to move my fence in place over here. I'm not sure if you've noticed in some of my other videos, I have this fence on a T-track, both fences actually. And I did that to maximize my usable space. I put both of my fences with the Craig stop track system on it so I can slide it out of the way when I need it, or when I don't need it, and when I do need it I can just slide it right up, line it up with whatever I'm trying to cut. And I got some wing nuts back here and I can just tighten it out and we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and get this piece cut off right here. Okay, now that I got that ugly part cut off, you can see the split right there. It's actually quite long. I've already taken the liberty of getting my production stop on my Craig stop track system set to 33 1/16. So now we'll go ahead and slide this down. Okay, that is now firewood. Okay, now that I've got these 2 cut, I'll go ahead and get the other 2 cut, and then we'll get started on the frames. Alright, now that we have our legs cut, we need to get these pieces cut down to the proper size. According to the plans, I need 4 of them at 50 7/8 of an inch, and I need 4 of them at 49 3/8 of an inch. So I've already got my production stop set at 50 7/8, so we're going to go ahead and get these cut down to the proper length. And don't forget that when you're working with this kind of lumber, especially this kind of material, you always want to knock off the end so that you have a dead square surface on this end to reference off of to make the rest of your measurements. Okay, just a friendly reminder, when you're cutting through some of this cheaper 2x4 material, take your blade slowly, especially when you get through the back, because if you don't, it'll blow the end out. There'll be splinters and everything everywhere. Just take your time, go slow, and you'll get a nice clean cut every time. Okay, now that we've got 4 of the pieces for the top set, we need to go ahead and get the other ones cut to 49 3/8. So we'll go ahead and get those cut now. Okay, now that I have most of my boards cut to size, I still have 4 more boards I have to cut, but before I do that, I want to get all the rabbets cut for the top portion of the tabletop. So the other 4 that are going to go in, I'm going to do a cross cut kind of torsion box top just to make sure that I've got a level flat surface to mount my melamine to. So I need to cut out a 3/4 inch rabbet in 4 of these boards, 2 of the 50 inch, 2 of the 49 inch. And then on the ends of the 50 inch boards, I need to cut a 3/4 inch lap joint so they can inset on the 49. So, mentioned in the last video, I do have a dado stack. I was going to set it up to use it for this application today because a 3/4 inch dado stack would make this job a lot easier. However, I don't have a throw plate for my table saw that will accommodate that thick of a dado stack. So, like last week, I'm just going to use the blade that I have in there now and just notch out a 3/4 inch rabbet in the end of the boards, just using my regular saw blade and my fence. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch tall with a 3/4 inch space. We should be set. Okay, so this is how I'm going to set up my table saw to cut a 3/4 inch rabbet around these here. I have this scrap piece of melamine. It's exactly 3/4 of an inch thick. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set my blade to the 3/4 inch depth. Now you can use a caliper or just do it the easy way. Now that you have this set, you can use the piece of material that you were using, your 3/4 inch stock, and just slide your fence right over, lock it in place. Now you have exactly a 3/8 inch gap with a 3/8 inch high blade, and you can run your 2x4 through there and cut that out. Okay, now that I have all my rabbets cut, next thing I need to do is get another rabbet cut on the ends of the longer boards to take the shorter ones. So I've already got my fence set up with my stop block and my miter gauge with a back brace on it so I can run it through. Anytime you're trying to cut a rabbet joint using your table saw, especially if you're using just a single blade, you always want to use your miter gauge with a back fence on it to help stabilize your piece as you're pushing it through. Okay, we have all of our pieces cut. Now, the next step is I want to dry fit the top, because it's the most complex piece, to make sure everything is square, and then I also need to measure out what I need for the webbing that goes in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and get it dry fit now. Okay, we have it dry fit, so now you can kind of get an idea of scale. It's going to be 4 foot by 4 foot square. So the next step in getting the top ready before we start assembly, I need to get the dimensions of the webbing on the inside. So I already know that my depth is 2 5/8. So now I'm going to measure on the inside, get my total depth, and then we're going to get the rest of our stock ripped to height, cut to length, and then we can start assembly. Okay, we've got the top dry fit. Now I'm going to get the 2x4s ripped down for the cross braces within the top. Okay, now we've got our pieces cut. Now we can actually start assembly. All right, now you can see we have our top together. We're going to go ahead and start driving screws in and start putting this thing together. I'm going to have Blake go through and drill and countersink everything, and then I'm going to go ahead and drive everything home. Okay, now that we have the top screwed together, we're going to go ahead and install the legs. Okay, so we have the legs attached now. We're going to go ahead and get the casters put on. So I've moved it from my table saw down here on the floor. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all of these casters marked where we need a hole. I'm going to pre-drill the holes, and we're going to go through and button them all down. Now we have it mostly assembled, you can kind of get an idea of the monster we're dealing with here. I've got the casters attached. The legs are just a little mounted. They're still a little wiggly because I want to leave room to adjust it to make for perfect square when we put the top on. So now the next step is to get the cross braces put in, put the boards in around the outside, and we're going to call it a day there. We got the cross members put in now, so now we're going to flip it over and put the remaining pieces around the outside. It's fully assembled. We got the frame together, got the cribbing in, all the legs are square. This actually came along really well. This has been a pretty good build. We're going to go ahead and stop it here, and we'll pick up next week with getting the top cut and putting in a bottom and secondary shelf, and cutting in slots for my miter slot on my table saw, cutting in dog holes, and I think we're going to cut in some T-track. We'll see. That's a mighty big list. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging there with us. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, that's what the box down below is for. As always, don't forget to ring that little bell icon so that you can get notified each and every time we upload a video. So, thanks for watching. See you next week.